Before I go on to my message, I'd like you to watch this video of how massive, massive, and powerful God is. And it kind of put us in a situation where we could hardly grasp the total meaning of who we are and where we are in Christ and why God became flesh. And so this is a video of how massive the universe is created by God. So go ahead and play that. Wow. That was the universe. With all those lights, those are planets and stars, and there are billions of them. And to imagine that God created all this. And He did not only create the universe, He is in control of the universe. I hope that gives us a picture of how big God is. You know, the earth disappeared. Our galaxy, our sun disappeared in the vastness of the universe. And if you look at the picture, where were you? You just disappeared. And the entire creation, in the entire universe, the earth that we are in is just like a dust among the billions of stars and planets. If the earth that we live in is just like a dust, then where are we? You know, sometimes we have this attitude that we want to be the center of the universe. Well, if you look at that picture, you're nowhere to be found. We were not even there. We don't even show on the radar. That's how small we are compared to the God that created the heavens and the earth. But yet, even though how small we are, and we did not even appear on that picture on the radar, this massive, massive, great, great, and powerful God came and put on some human flesh. Can you imagine that? And sometimes we think that we can compare ourselves to God. He is in control of everything. There's nothing that you can do, you and I. There is nothing that we can do, because a lot of times we think we can perform to get God's attention. The Bible tells us that He knows every hair that we have. You know, if you're already baldy, that's a lot easier. It's a lot easier to count, right? But this huge, powerful God, in His eyes, we are special. Why would this God, who is so massive, who is so great and powerful, would come, put on human flesh to die for you and for me? We must be somebody special. We must be somebody special. And He came. You see, Christmas is not about Christmas presents, whether you like Christmas presents or not. A lot of times we kind of magnify the issue of whether Christmas gift or Christmas present is important. And that becomes an important thing because we debate about it. Christmas is about Santa Claus, whether you like Santa Claus or not. Okay. I'm glad that I don't look like Santa Claus. I don't qualify, so don't put on a suit on me, okay? No kids will climb on my lap and start asking me for Christmas presents because I don't qualify for Santa Claus. So we bring up this so many things about Christmas. But all this are nothing compared to what God has done for you and for me. Huge. And this whole month I've been preaching this series of The Word Became Flesh. The Word became flesh in my first Sunday message is because of God loved us so much. Of all the creation that He made, He sees you. That's love. Then I spoke about humility, how humble God is. This God that created the entire universe and control every single one of them and name every one of them, would humble Himself and put on some dirt so that He can be with us. That's how humble God is. So the fact that God created us from the dust, from the dirt, He was not afraid to get dirty, His hands dirty, just to create us. And we who came from dirt don't like to touch dirt. That's something to think. But today I'd like to talk about God became flesh because He wants to forgive us. You see, this huge God that we have offended Him. And every single day we offend God. Every single day there's nothing that we can do to get God's attention. But because of His love for us, He came and hold back nothing so that we can be forgiven of our sin, and how He hold back nothing so that we can be restored. And sometimes we don't truly understand what forgiveness is. We think, again, that we can do things in order to get God's attention, to get God's favor. Just think of how big He is right now. Just close your eyes and just think of how big God is. And that how much He loved you and how much He loved me. That He came to redeem us. It's very hard to grasp. Because God's forgiveness is so massive that we cannot comprehend. It is something like this, and I'd like to talk about forgiveness. Because this is a message of one of the messages of Christmas, forgiveness. God came to die, sent His Son to die for us so that we can be forgiven. We can be redeemed. We can be restored. And many people still do not truly understand that. And even Christians, those who have been Christians for a long time, we don't truly understand what forgiveness is. You know, Jesus talked and told a story about the prodigal son in Luke chapter 15. And this prodigal son represents us, and the father represents God. You know, one day he said, Dad, he went to the father, the son said, Dad, I don't want to have anything to do with you anymore. I want to cut off my relationship with you. Give me my share of the estate, and I will go somewhere else. See, when the moment that we failed God, when Adam failed God and sinned, we separate ourselves from God. So the story tells us that this young man went out and spent his entire life and whatever he had in a life that he thought came with so much freedom. So he spent all his money. I don't know where he went, probably Las Vegas. You know, it's probably that's where your money will disappear pretty quick. And so he ended up bankrupt. See, the life that is away from God is a bankrupt life. Because when God created us, He created us in His own image, and He breathed the breath of life in us. Therefore, we are connected to God. And to be away from God is not life at all. So he spent all his savings and he became bankrupt. And so the story tells us that he ended up feeding the pigs. Now, for a Jew that was listening to that story, pigs is a very dirty, dirty animal for them. They won't even go close to those animals because according to the law of Moses, they're not supposed to eat it. But he was there, feeding. But one day, he said, wow, this is a bankrupt life. You know, a lot of times we think that we can run away from God and we'll have a better life. But we end up bankrupt. He was eating the food of the pigs. So one day he said, how many of my father's servants are living a life, a blessed life, and I am here suffering? So he said, I will go back home. And he put a plan together. Okay, this is us. We like to put a plan on our own when God has already a plan. He put a plan and I said, I'm going to go back to my dad and I will tell him, I have sinned against you, therefore I am no longer qualified. I don't deserve to be called your son. So he put that plan together. So he began to go back home. Walk home, dirty, stink. And the moment the father saw him as he was far away, the story tells us that the father ran and gave his son a hug and kiss him. So in that part of the story, this is where we will find that when God ran, it is the time that God put on a human flesh to be with us. This is the Father, this is God who came running to his son who is stink. See, the Father did not just look up from far away and he said, that's my son. Well, let me call my servant. Tell my servant to tell my son. He wants to come see me. I want him to take shower. I want him to shave. I want him to put on lotion so he will smell good. Then tell him to come and see me. No. He went running to his son. It didn't matter how stink he was. How many of us are stinky? And then he began to tell his dad, Dad, I have sinned against you. Therefore, I no longer deserve to be called your son. Make me one of your servants. He just wanted to get by. He just wanted to go back home so he can eat. See, what the father was looking was this. The moment when he was still in the pig house, the moment that he said, I'm going back home, that was enough. He was going back home. He was going on the right direction. Before that he left, he was going on the wrong direction, away from God, away from his father. But the moment that he made the decision, that is what we call repentance. The moment that he made the decision, I'm going back to my dad, that was enough for the father. He wanted his son home. But then when he got there, the father gave him a hug and kissed him. He started telling his plan. Dad, this is my plan. I messed up. So I want to come home, make me one of your servants. I just want to eat. You know what he was doing? He was basing his relationship with his dad, with his past failure. He was basing his relationship with dad, with God, with how stinky he was. And that is still happening today. That is still happening today. You see, what he was suggesting to his father is that I want to become your slave. I want to perform so that you will let me in. And that my relationship with you, I want to base it on how stinky I am. I want to base it on how failure I am, of my past, the past failure. And a lot of times, that's how we are. We want to bring out our failure. We want our failure, we want our weakness to decide of how we should relate to God. The dad said, after he told his dad, the dad did not even listen to that. He called his servant and he said, put on a new garment, a robe on him, put a lotion on him, give him a shower, and let's have a party. See, forgiveness is not based on your performance. It is based on the love of God. And that's the reason why so many Christians today, so many people today are still struggling with their past. They are still defined by their failure rather than being defined by the love and the forgiveness of God. And that's the reason why many Christians are failing and are struggling. Because we just could not understand why God, who is so big and is so massive, would come and die for us. We just want to perform. We just want to make it. But God said, no. Let's have a party because you are home. It is not based on your failure. It is based on my decision. Long time ago, God already decided to send His only begotten Son to redeem us, to give us forgiveness. Our part is to make decision to go back to God and be under His roof. That is our part. And of course, the story continues that there was a brother. This brother is, can also represent many Christians today that are still looking around for your mistakes. He came home and said, "What's going on?" Dad said, servant said, "Oh, well, your brother came home and your dad throwing a party." Scratching his head, I cannot understand this. My dad is not even throwing a party for me. I've been working so hard for him, he could not even kill a goat. So he went to his dad and said, "Dad, I've been working for you so hard, and this son of yours, he went out running around and having a good life out there, and I'm working so hard for you, and you did not kill me a goat." Dad said, "Son, everything that I have is yours." Wow. See, when God said that, when the Father said that everything that I have is yours, I want you to think, go back again to that massive universe that you see. God owns it. God owns that. And when He said, everything that I have is yours. Everything that I own is yours. You have access to all that I have. I am not limiting you. See, this God that we serve is not limiting us. If He limits, then He did not have to send His Son to die for us on the cross. But because His love is as massive as He is, because His forgiveness is as massive as He is, bigger than the universe, everything that He has is yours. This God that we serve loves you so much. This God that we serve humbled Himself and put on a human flesh so that we can be forgiven. So that you can have a life that is to the fullest. Life that is outside of God is a bankrupt life. There is no life at all. You see, the natural thing that we do is that when something goes wrong, you know what's the first thing we do? We run away from God. That will make your life worse. Because you run away from God. That will make your life worse. What God wants us to do is come home. What God wants us to do is just give and just fall into His arms. You know, maybe some people will be listening to me right now and say, well, it sounds like, Pastor Phil, it sounds like that one of those preaching that you can do whatever you want because God loves us so much. Oh, no. It is about putting Jesus in the center of it all. It's either you perform or you go under and believe what Jesus have already done. That's what it matters. Okay? Good works comes later. It is an echo. James, if you have been studying the book of James, when it said, faith without action or not accompanied by action is dead. And that's why many people are really performing to gain God's favor. What it says is faith. When it says accompanied, the word accompanied is the word echo. So when you say echo, it is the after effect. Okay? It is the after effect of something that you have done. Faith comes first, then action comes. It is, Paul said, if Christ is, if we can be saved by performance, then Christ died for nothing. His death on the cross means nothing. But He had this plan of salvation. And was putting yourself again in the whole picture of the universe. What do you think can you do? Lost in the entire universe. What do you think that you can do to gain God's attention? You're lost in the entire universe. In that vastness of the universe, I do not know where to go to find God. But He came to find you. He came, Emmanuel, God is with us. This is the message of Christmas. God came, hold back nothing, so that we can be forgiven. Do not allow your past to define your relationship with God. Do not allow your failures to define your relationship with God. Instead, allow His love and the vastness of His forgiveness, the massiveness of His love to define your relationship with Him. You will do better instead of struggling.